Hello, everybody. Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the Athletic Senior NFL Insider, Dianna Russini. Hope you are having a fabulous summer. Make sure you like and subscribe for all your NFL news and notes and scoop, of course. We continue our Best of Scoop City Season 1 series here, this time with some of the greatest minds in the game, from veteran leadership to rising stars on the sideline. We checked in with 3 head coaches who are really shaping their teams individually very different. We've got Sean Payton, we've got Kevin O'Connell, and we've got DeMeco Ryans. Here is a look back at our conversations about culture, quarterback development, and of course the challenges that come with building a contender in today's NFL. Take a listen.
Chase and I were both saying, we both obviously have known you for such a long time, but just watching you on the sidelines and just hearing the buzz around your practice, Coach, I don't remember the last time you've seen this happy.
Well, I'm never happy.
True.
I would say it's much different this year. It's a young team, but the competition and the way practice is going is entirely different than a year ago. And it's not any one player from a year ago. It's just a series of transactions that are moving you in a direction you want to get to. And then this draft class, we're going to remember, this class has a chance to be really good.
Yeah.
And I could go through every one of them. Obviously, it'll be measured by Bo Nix first, but these other guys, Ellis and Estime, Bailey, Franklin, Abrams, Drain. There's so many guys that have come in right away and whoa.
Yeah.
You root for them, but you got to really go by what you see. And they're impressing.
Specifically going into year 2, how are you molding this team? I was in the meeting room last night with you, and that was awesome. Thank you for letting me come in. But I missed it, man. The vigor, the energy, the passion you're speaking to this team. You got something so special.
Yeah.
What are you doing to put your stamp on this team?
I think each night it's different. So there's an educational point to the meeting. Let's study these situations now and really practice them, and then repeat the video and show the examples, and then just talk about goals and outside expectations versus inside expectations. And I think that when I say they're believing and they're working and they're wanting to please and then we're real with looking at the work and then being honest with our coaching.
Yeah.
So take us into the Bo Nix thing. I am fascinated by.
I brought my quarterback for
a reason,
because I know if I ask you.
Is this podcast going right now? Or is this,
yes, we've been going the whole time.
Okay, I want to tell you about my first podcast. That's why.
Oh, no.
All right,
Okay.
so,
We don't want to hear it.
no, I was
wanna
on
hear
the
it, I wanna
telephone.
hear it, I
I'm not even going to tell you about it. I started having this conversation with this guy, and I didn't know what a podcast was. And then I'm like, I wonder when we're going to get around to start the podcast. He's like, we're winding down. I'm like, and I had gone, I'm trying to go back and think of what I needed to edit.
Yeah.
No, I think when the off season hit and we saw the draft class, there's a process relative to all the positions, but certainly attention to the quarterback position. And so, all of these guys really, not as much Caleb, because I think there was that understanding where he was going.
Yeah.
But the rest of this class was the pro days, the visits here, the combine, and then the private workout. At 5 p.m. we send the fax or the email, excuse me. And we send more than we think they're going to be able to digest, because we're going to be in their school at 9 a.m. So it's always a 5 p.m. email out. We're at the school beginning at 9. And just how do they do with that?
Yeah.
And so specifically to Bo, I'd never been to Oregon. We fly up there, and he's kind of ready. He's in the meeting room, and I'll bet there's 6 of us in the room. But Joe or somebody's conducting the interview relative to, hey, draw up. We sent you this. Take me through this, and you're looking for recall, and he's doing great. He's doing really good, and it's going to be 2 hours, and we're probably at the hour 40 mark, and I'm like, all right, I've seen enough.
I'm good.
Then I'm like, hey, what's in your backpack? And he had a backpack. I just wanted,
Yeah.
And he, one pair of turf shoes, and then he had grass shoes, and then he had a lacrosse ball for recovery, and then everything he pulled out of there was football related. And I'm just waiting for a candy bar, some chewing, one Vice.
A Vice.
And then it's and everything came out, and it was I looked down, I'm like, all right, let's go throw.
Yeah.
So he threw about, I'd say, 80 balls that day. What was impressive, the pro day was Friday. This was the next morning. And there's Troy Franklin, and there's the running back,
Yep.
and then there's his offensive lineman. This is Bo's pro day with just one team. Excuse me. This is his individual workout.
This is his private workout with
Oh, wow.
the
Pro
Denver
day was the
Broncos.
day before.
Okay.
And here are all these teammates at his private workout with one team. So you're observing all of this, and then I go over and meet the center was in this year's draft, and he's like, how's he doing? They're all asking. And now we drafted Alex Forsythe a year ago, who was his
Yep.
center.
Yep.
So Alex gave us great insight. He's like, man, this guy's super with protections, real smart.
Specifically when it comes to your scheme, though, like I was in it for 7 years, 2 with Lombardi
Yep.
in LA, 5 with you. You've never had a rookie quarterback.
I haven't.
What quarterback traits specifically
So
do you
I'm going
guys
to give
look
them
for?
to you. Before, the workout was fantastic. So arguably one of the more accurate college players in
Yep.
history, 78% last year. He is statistically. And, you know, we're lucky enough to have a real good analytics department. And so the first thing we wanted to do was eliminate all the bubbles, the smokes. You know, everyone bangs him for the underneath throws. That's his offense
Yep.
to some degree. It's not like he can't control that.
Yeah.
But we eliminated those throws with every quarterback in the class. So those are off. And then third down, he's first in the class. Red zone, first in the class. 2-minute end to half, first in the class. 2-minute crunch time,
Wow.
first in the class. Minus play differential. So 2 years at Oregon, 0 fumbles. He's got a 10 3/8 stand. Sack differential, he's best in the class. I'd say the single most important trait, besides his processing, which is always hard to really measure,
Yeah.
I'd say is his ability to throw from a dirty pocket. You know, there's just a little bit of penetration, and he can kind of take that quick step
Yep.
and be right on point. And we kept the new thing to do nowadays on these private workouts. These coaches have these guys running here and then throwing here, and it's like, what are you doing? They're all trying to do the Mahomes throw.
Yeah.
But I want to see what happens in a game, and when you watch his off-schedule throws in a game, it's remarkable. It's noticeable.
Yeah.
Something happened with him I've never seen on film before. You know, it's a third down play, and the tackles are rushing up the field, and the guard's blocking the 3 technique, and he slips between the guard, between the guard and the 3 technique, and then
No.
climbs and throws it to a tight end.
Yeah.
And I replayed it. I said I've never seen this before. So he's very comfortable off schedule.
Yeah.
And I would say he is fast.
Yeah.
I asked him the other day, we were talking about this, I said, why didn't you shuttle or run a 40 or any of that? Those would have been assets
Yeah.
for you. He said, I had a toe injury,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that I was 100%. Now that makes sense because it's something he does well,
Yeah. You
and
see
yet
my hair
there was
moving
no
around.
shuttle,
weren't-
there was no 40,
Yeah.
Yep.
and he had a toe irritated.
But my question about this, and I think a lot of people are wondering, right? So here we are watching practice, and Chase is talking through your offense with me, and we're
Yeah.
watching his throws, and he looks like a vet. He looks like a 5-year veteran out there, the way he's able to comprehend, understand, and run it. But it just seemed around the draft, nobody had their eye on Bo the way you did.
Well, I know this. There were a few other teams that saw it the same way. And the one comment I made to George after he finished throwing that day, and we came back, we watched all of Oregon, all of Auburn, went back to Oregon, we stopped the tape, and I said, George, I'm just going to say this, we're not the only ones seeing it this way.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, of
We're
course
not-
not. How
We're not the only
you're
ones seeing
smart,
it
but
this way.
you have to figure other
And
people
so
are seeing
I'm not worried about where. Let's not get cute in this process. And you try to simulate what you think's going to happen. We felt the Giants were going to be
Yep.
an at-large team, not necessarily for Bo, but for quarterback. Are they taking one
Yeah.
or not? And then they didn't. And so pretty soon there's 3 teams with a need: the Vikings, Broncos, and the Raiders. And then Atlanta, out of nowhere, no one saw that.
Yep.
And now there's still 3 teams,
At
2
8.
quarterbacks.
Yep. Did
And
you feel comfortable at that time?
Well, I
that you would,
not as comfortable as I did before their pick.
Yeah.
And so Minnesota's right ahead of us, the Raiders behind us. Minnesota goes up 1, and then they draft
Yep.
JJ.
JJ.
And now there's 1, and the Jets are still on the clock. And I said to George, call the Jets. Just call them. We don't want to move up unnecessarily
Yeah.
a pick or 2.
But you don't want another team to
I don't
jump in.
I don't
You
want
want them
anyone,
doing a deal
because
with
you
someone
had-
I
else.
don't want
Yeah.
anything happening
Yeah.
like Kansas
The
City.
Mahomes.
Yeah, you can't
thing.
have that.
Anybody can come.
Yeah.
And so we stayed on the, and then I think the Jets said to George, "You called us. What do you want?" He goes, "No, I just was checking in." So our concern right behind us were the Raiders, and then it was like, well, call the Raiders and tell them we might want to move back to see if.
Yeah, they
And
want
so
it.
there was this. They didn't want to move up, and then there's that minute you wait, and then we'll stay put, and the Jets make their pick, and then here we are.
What was the reaction like in the draft room?
It was
when you knew?
outstanding. It was
Like-
outstanding. It was.
Did you see it? It was amazing. They were
Yeah.
cheering.
I mean-
Somebody in the building told me though, because this thing was kept under wraps. Like I'm
Yeah, we
telling you,
didn't-
as somebody who was digging
When did you
on
when
this
did you
story,
know? But when did you know it was the guy that you wanted no matter what?
the individual workout.
Yep.
After the meeting, we went onto the field, and about throw 16, I just said to George, "This is the guy."
So you knew it, and he didn't
I'd already
matter,
seen all the tape. Throw
and you
16.
were willing to trade up for him.
why 16?
I saw enough.
You saw enough. 16 was
It-
enough
it-
for you to go.
Okay,
"My
so
God."
So
16.
here are the things that you got to tune out. He doesn't have his arm strength's outstanding. He's 6'2 and a half, 220 pounds, and you do a lot of other digging. You call up, places he's worked. Phillip Rivers had a chance to work with him. Call up Phillip, and he's like, "Coach, this guy can spin it." And the location, if you looked at his pro day location, we charted 82 throws, 81 were exactly on the right shoulder. He
serious?
had one that was a little super accurate, and it was about halfway through our individual workout where I'm like,
So it was 16 throws. Okay, he's had way more than 16 throws out here.
yeah,
Are you ready to name him the starter?
yeah.
And why haven't you?
Listen, well, we haven't because there's a process that we started out at the very beginning. We said, hey, there's no reason to.
Yep.
All right, let's make sure he's getting his work, and let's make sure Stiddy's getting his work. This frickin' Zach Wilson now, the last
playing amazing.
week and a half,
That's great.
I grabbed him and I said, look, I just want you to focus on having fun and playing. My job is to make you millions either with us or for another team.
Wow.
His last 2 weeks have been outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see the film because when you're out here at this type of practice, you're kind of like
He's
you're
finding
one of the
coach.
principals.
Yes.
So I'm not seeing I'm looking at Lombardi like, take a shot, will you get the ball down the field? I'm always pissed at whoever's calling plays if I'm not. It's just hard. But I think that, man, I love the room right now. And I think Davis Webb, who's a young superstar in the waiting, I mean, he provides a little bit of that. I mean, it's not often you get a player that goes right from playing into coaching and then has a text saying, hey, would you consider coming?
That's
Yeah.
wild.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He's got every game plan from his high school to college. I'll pull up some play and in about 8 minutes he'll have it on video. I'm like, where'd you get that? He goes, this was his dad is a coach.
Yeah.
But Davis has done a good job with that room. And to your question though, I think we felt everyone has an opinion on how they want to do that. Chicago certainly named Caleb the starter in the spring.
Yeah.
They didn't play him in the first preseason game. I think we're going to get closer to an answer probably next week.
Yeah. That's great. And it all signs
Parcells
show.
would tell me, what are you in a hurry?
I am very, I believe that very much.
Are you in a
so.
hurry?
Well, here's a question too, and I heard you guys talking about it. He hasn't heard you. Bo Nix has not heard you on the headset.
He's getting ready to.
He hasn't heard you.
Yeah.
What are you expecting him
I
to
told
do?
him,
Because
I
he's
said-
very calm.
I just said,
you're not
back.
calm on the headset.
I said, sit back. I said, sit back and enjoy the flight.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I wish I was.
No, but I'm glad you're
mic'd
bringing
up
that
for
up because something.
That's a great point.
No,
because Joe called the
You haven't
plays
been on
last
it.
week.
I saw Joe calling the
Joe
plays
was
today.
in his ear, all right, and so it's going to be important. I'm in his ear.
Yeah.
All right, and Joe does a great job, and yet when you're in game and there'll be a call made, and I'll be like, I hate that call.
Yeah.
But you have to let that
yeah.
go when someone else is doing it. You just have to let them focus. So I'm anxious to.
Well, there's just different steps in rookie quarterback's development.
I'll
and having Sean
I'll
Payton
probably
on the
repeat
mic.
the play
And-
real quick.
Yeah.
But you say to me all the time, every time Chase and I get into quarterback play calling, he always references you and
It's
explains how
unbelievable.
complicated it is. So how are you going to help a rookie? Because you can't
I would say here's the one thing we've done. Andy's done it too. I hear a couple of his calls. I'm like, so we'll come up with like beef jerky, or we'll come up with like Seahawk,
Yeah.
or we've all begun to say, hey,
Spontaneous.
let's come up with a term and let everyone understand what they got to do. And if there's a receiver maybe that needs the tag, then we'll do that to help him.
Tag around.
So trying to untag some of these and just give it cleanly. And it would be, even if Bo wasn't here and it was someone else, it's just moving a little bit in the direction. There's probably 20 calls that we could call that they go right to the ball and run. 3x1, 2x2 or empty, and be able to do it. And it just, you become a little bit more efficient.
And will you continue to add as the season progresses, if Bo is named the starter, to add stuff that he did at Oregon that he feels comfortable? Or are you dead set
2 weeks
on
ago?
what works?
No, 2 weeks ago we moved. Our 06-07 offense was so different than when you came, and then it was different in 18. I asked Davis in front of him, I said, I want these three guys to give you their favorite play. And I don't want it right away. I want you to think about it. And then finally Nix gives him one, Stiddy gives him one, Zach gives him one. All three are in. We're run today.
Flutie Sting?
And no, we already have Flutie Sting.
Oh,
right?
okay. What did you have to run?
I wanted
That's my favorite play.
a different little play that they like, and explain it. And then I'm constantly kind of like keeping track of whose play's doing better. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the number one job we have is to move in the direction of where our skill set is. And when Sproles came, and he provided something. Jimmy Graham. And so we weren't locked into the 07 or 8. And then by the time we're 18, 19, it just evolves. And then, but I do think there is that starting point.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you go to advance.
Too much.
Yeah, let's, and even with the cadence, you know, I said to him, this is Bowen's. I said, just give me a standard count. Give me one that fools him. Give me a quick count and then a yellow. You know.
Because he didn't call cadence in college.
Yeah. But like the huddle's an adventure.
Even that's a challenge.
I saw you pull him out of the huddle today.
Hear me out. This is our sideline. We're going left to right. Where's the quarterback in the huddle? He's on the right side of the huddle, so he can turn and look at me. All right, we're going right to left now. He's on the left part of the huddle. He's always been on one side of the huddle. He said, do you mind if I go to the other side of the huddle today? I said, I don't have a problem with that. Just go over there.
Yeah.
He'd never done that before.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
I said, I want your eyes, though, so you're always going to be near me.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. So our podcast is called Scoop City, as you know. So
I like it.
Our last question's always.
You're stealing my T-shirt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go.
That's our gift.
That's all yours.
Scoop
It's gonna look
City.
great on
I know
you.
both these guys very well. I consider them friends. They're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Chase does a great job with the quarterback work. I love it. I love that you
So
guys.
what's the scoop, though? We need the scoop on the Denver Broncos. It doesn't have to be breaking news.
Young
we
and
know the breaking
young
news.
and hungry.
Young and hungry.
Young and hungry, and I would say a couple things. We brought in a handful of defensive linemen to help our front. I don't know. You probably didn't overlap with the tackle from New Orleans that we brought in. John Franklin Myers. Malcolm Roach. A few of these veteran players. I think we have to be better against. I know we have to be better against the run, and I'm pleased with how that front is playing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, let's get back to the quarterback. The two greatest allies for good quarterback play are a good defense and a running game. If you're struggling defensively and giving up points, it becomes harder on the quarterback because he has to match those scores. And then if you're struggling to run the ball, then pretty soon he's on the high dive the whole game. And I think even the greatest at that position, it's important that they have some snaps where they're just jumping in the water from the side of the pool. And so how do we, from a scheme standpoint, match what they do?
Yeah.
Every Monday, for instance, the weekend's over with. After our team leaves, the first film I'll watch will be that weekend's touchdowns. And it'll start on the 1 yard line. And there's 50 to 60 plays, and I always get to see who had the longest touchdown of the week. It ends over here somewhere. But with each one of those plays, you would say play or player. You know, a receiver goes up, makes a great play on top of a corner's head, or quarterback scrambles, throws one, and those would be player, player, player. And then all of a sudden you see this concept where a receiver comes open, and then you'd say play. And so we'll try to mark those unique schemes that may fit or may not fit.
Yeah.
And so when that finishes on Monday, I've kind of got a hot folder of 14 touchdown thoughts. It's just touchdown thoughts from the weekend that would be more scheme driven than player driven.
Yeah.
Before you go, the kicks, Coach. You're the only coach with a Jordan Brand deal. You got the concretes on today. Those are
Spike Lee.
How did you get this deal?
Give us your business.
The Super Bowl was in Miami, and I think it's 2018 or 19, and I had
right before COVID.
Yeah,
it was the COVID Super Bowl.
Yeah, this was prior to the COVID Super Bowl, and I had an email about this new golf course that Michael Jordan was opening, Grove 23.
Yep.
And it was an invite to come look as a potential candidate. And that sounded great. You know, it's in Jupiter.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe I can get there 3 or 4 times a year. But, like, I'm from Chicago, and I had never met him.
Yep.
So, and we're in Florida already. And so my wife and I went up. The clubhouse was going to open that Sunday. They were in a trailer, and we got a good tour from Ken Wyhan. Ken's the president. He runs the whole operation. He does a great job, and he's a good friend. And my wife nudged me at one point, and she said, "Are we interviewing him, or is he interviewing us?" And it was a fair question. I said, "Ken," I said, "are you interviewing us, or are we interviewing you?" He said, No, you have a membership. We're just showing you around."
Oh,
and we pull in. Michael was playing with a large group,
Yep.
and he was finishing up. He had played 36, and he had just come in and met us. We sat and talked. We talked tequila. He had just kind of started a branded tequila. And then he said, I know you wear the Jordan 11 golds. He goes, "I'm going to make you my first Jordan brand coach." And I was like, that sounds good. You know, and so that was fine. And then we got our membership. We're fired up. Yeah. And 3 weeks later, like 15 boxes came of just different Jordan
shoes. So we followed
shoes.
through with it.
When I say, now the only good thing is my son is a 13 as well.
That's
So
great.
Connor is the benefactor, you know, and here he is at TCU. So the shoes come in, the clothes comes in. I don't ever take it for granted. I'm real appreciative.
Awesome.
And there's players, you know, the rule is if I gift you one of those, you can't sell them, obviously.
Yeah,
but everyone,
special.
I could tell you right now, everyone who's a 13 in the locker room, and they're always waiting for the next.
Coach, I'm a
shit.
13.
Cortland Sutton's a
I'm just
13. Are you 13?
13.
I'll send you some.
All right.
What's your color?
All right. I like red, blue.
Yeah.
Women's 9.
Yeah. It's a little harder.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys.
Good luck.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you,
Thank
Coach.
You guys are doing a
There's-
great job. You're killing it.
There's
been fun.
there's tons of juice here, and this is awesome. It's
Absolutely.
contagious. So thanks for joining us.
And you're at the other ends of the country, so
Yeah.
it works.
It was like meet in the middle.
Well, this isn't really the middle.
Yeah, it's short for me.
Yeah,
I
nice.
like.
I feel like you can maybe let your hair down a little bit and really tell us what JJ's done already to make you feel like he is the guy. So besides just what he's done on the field and in the meeting room, is there anything else that has stood out to you as a guy that has coached so many great quarterbacks?
Well, I just think, you know, whether it's his performance in, you know, the rookie show, he gets called up there the second day and just totally, you know, brings the house down with and the guys are all into it. The way they talk about him down in the locker room, it's never forced, but yet everybody feels like they know who JJ is and they feel like he's already assumed a role, clearly with the other rookies, but then just when you watch him in the huddle and just, you know, as he's kind of built up his knowledge in our offense, being in the huddle with Justin and Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Garrett Bradbury, these guys are used to a veteran quarterback in the huddle, and Sam's been really good from a standpoint of his role, you know, in really a competition, but JJ was on the come for sure, and I think it's just a credit to him and improvement every day, and really not, you know, there was improvement even when their results weren't always there, and that to me is where the really great quarterbacks in this league are process oriented towards what it takes to win, not always just, you know, looking pretty out there and you know, having a bunch of stats and yards. Those things will all come from the process you put together, and he's got that.
What did he do in the rookie show? What was the performance?
He had
was it a good song?
I think he sang Tupac.
Really? And he nailed it?
Yeah, and I'm normally up on the stage to introduce him, you know, at the end of a team meeting, and they'll call a guy out here and there, and you know, we did give him the option of background music, and he says, no, I don't need it. He asked somebody to give him a beat, and away he went.
Come on, look at that.
You know, but I could, as far as who it was, I could be totally wrong. I just know it was very, very good. Yeah. I've seen a lot of those, including my own, which was not worth talking about.
You remember
right
what you did?
It was way worse.
Are we
It
gonna
was
have
a
to
whole
pull these
rookie
videos?
No, there's no videos.
Thank God.
Goodness. Thank goodness.
What'd you do? What'd you sing?
I didn't even have to sing. It was, you know, Coach Belichick, you had to do a full rookie show with skits and, you know, beginning, middle, and end. And, you know, it required us to get up at 5 a.m. every day for 3 weeks in a row before we were capable of satisfying a very veteran football team my first year in New England. So I'd like to forget that, but thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, the good news is there's no proof. This is what's great about us being older is, the cameras weren't around
That's exactly right.
when we were youngins. I know there's a little bit of a joke with Vikings fans of, man, we can't have nice things. Minnesota can't have nice things. And you go through what you've had to navigate in the last few months. Let's just even start it with Kirk leaving, right?
Yeah.
And that was a decision that everyone was on board for in the end, and probably good for both parties now, looking at where you're at. But then you just have to get through all these challenges. For you as the leader of this team, how have you been able to figure out how to be the leader in these situations when, for you, some of these are the first time you're going through it as well?
Yeah, I think leadership is not just sayings on the wall. It's not just making sure you're the motivational speeches the night before games. Leadership is being at your best when adversity hits. And to me, it comes naturally for me to just, when I know that my football team's going to be looking to me for leadership, guidance, motivation, sometimes just clarity on exactly where we're at and what we need to attack. I pride myself on being the same guy every day, authentic to who I believe I should be. And these guys have come to expect that. So when adversity hits, if I'm different, I don't think that they would be, getting the guy that said he was going to be the best version of himself for them every single day. So it really, I just look at it like, what's next? What do we got to do? What do we got to do to continue getting better as a team, regardless of circumstance? It's not our first time hitting adversity. We played 4 quarterbacks last year, didn't have Jets for a good 8-9 weeks, and these guys never quit. They battled, and we all learned a lot during those tough times, which led us into, hopefully not experiencing more of that this year, but we're certainly equipped and we're going to handle it.
Well, fortunately for you too, you have a great circle of, we'll call them football friends, right?
Yeah.
You've got the Matt LaFleur's, the Sean McVays, the Raheem Morris's, all these people that you've been around all these years who you compete against, but they're your buddies, and you guys all communicate a lot and you talk and you hang out when you can. But I've always felt that the football audience, they all know Sean McVay is brilliant. They all know he's smart, he can retain well. Matt LaFleur is brilliant, he can retain. And I always think, well, what about Kevin? Kevin's just as smart. How come no one knows how smart Kevin is? So I realize it's because no one's ever put you on display. No one has ever tried to test your ability to recall.
Oh, God.
So here's what I was thinking.
Okay.
All right. You won your first preseason game. Congratulations.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
proud of you there. First time as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, you win that preseason game. So I figured we'd stick with the theme of one. Right, so let's jog the memory here. So the team you beat, what was the team you beat the first time you became a head coach?
The Green Bay Packers.
Who scored a touchdown in that game?
The first one was Justin Jefferson. I believe he had 2. The first one he caught, I think I called 4th and 5 on the right hash.
See, this is why people don't think that you're just like them, because of the delay of game here.
Float to stack right, close, fire to fly, Y crossers. And he caught the ball in the flat, and that was the first time I saw him gritty.
Oh.
Yeah.
When's the first time you grittied?
I have a deal. I have a deal with Justin. When I will gritty in front of the whole team will happen after we accomplish something as a team. I don't want to put that out there, because if I do, I know there'll be extra cameras when that happens. And just like my rookie show, I'd rather not have. I know with John and Jeff and our PR staff, I know I won't be able to, remove this video from the future catalog.
I hate to break this to you.
I'm practicing. I'll say this.
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah, my kids.
They help you?
Yeah, they're much better at it than I am. But Jets, he's kind of taught me the version that he feels all can do. Way less movement than some of the ones he does. Just keep it very simple, much like how I dance at weddings and things like that.
Yeah, which I'm sure is a scene. So the first team you lost to as the Vikings head coach was?
That would have been, I believe, we were bang, it was Philadelphia Eagles. It would have been Monday Night Football. My first 2 years, believe it or not, I've opened up the link on national TV for their home opener. And they're always so friendly and so nice. But yeah, we went to Philadelphia feeling ourselves after that Green Bay game. And, we had our first taste of adversity. And then we won a few in a row after that. And it was a good run there in 2022. Got to get back to that.
What is the first date you took your wife on?
I actually believe, the first date, believe it or not, I actually borderline stood her up. I was hanging out with some of our offensive linemen and might have lost track of time. So technically that was the first date that should have happened that never did, but dealt with adversity on that one. And ultimately, I think we went to get either frozen yogurt or a smoothie. And I remember thinking, I killed that. She's got to love me.
Crushed.
This is love at first sight. And I get in my car, and I either had blueberry seeds or something all through my teeth. And I said, I thought you were a real one. You couldn't tell me. I had just... So I was petrified, but she answered my call the next day. And now we have a family of 4 beautiful children and couldn't do this job without her.
Can you name the kids?
No, I could not. Yes, I can. Caden, Quinn, Colton, and of course Callie.
You didn't have to prove it to me. I
Yeah.
believed you. All right,
Yeah.
then my last bonus one then. What is your first child's birthday?
Caden O'Connell, he's turns 10 this year on October 24th, which happens to be my wife Leah's birthday as well.
Oh, look, it's like we knew. It's like we did some research before this
Thanks for the heads up on this, by the way. This could have gone south in
This
a
could have been
hurry.
really good. Leah, he passed the test. All right, this is a podcast called Scoop City.
Yep.
And the premise of it is really not breaking news, but just getting a little scoop on things that are going on around the league. So
Yep.
if there's some scoop on this Minnesota Vikings team now, just something that maybe people don't know about you guys.
I think I would not underestimate the team we've put together. I think we've put together a lot of new additions that fit very well with not only the scheme we run on offense, defense, or even in the kicking game, but the way they fit amongst their teammates in the locker room. And that stuff does matter. It does matter when it comes to 17-plus games, trying to win as many as you can. I feel like we're made of the right stuff. I feel very strongly about, not only our offensive scheme, but having Brian Flores. I know people know about Flo, but he makes me a better coach on a daily basis, and certainly schematically, I know he's a headache to deal with for a lot of people around this league, which is why he's on my staff, so we don't have to play against him.
All right, so Coach, one of the most common things people tell me about you is that you are this high energy, highly caffeinated human being. So I want to know your secret to just having so much energy every single day.
I truly believe in positive energy and how others feed off of that. So every day, every meeting, it's great morning. Like I'm coming in loud, full of energy, just so our guys can feel that energy, especially during a time like this in camp when everybody's can be dragging around and feeling sorry for themselves, the long days. It's like, man, let's go. Great day. Let's have a great day. Let's have some fun out here.
How many times a day do you think you're saying great morning, great
Oh.
day, great morning, great day?
At least 100.
Yeah. But what if someone's not having, like, life is not easy.
Right.
Not every day is great. So how are you making sure that, A, your day is great, but you're reminding them that this is a blessing to do this?
Yeah, for sure. And I make sure that there's a balance. Like sometimes I can see a guy, right, and see his face and how he's looking, and maybe take the time to pull him to the side, right, talk to a guy, hey, make sure, truly, genuinely ask, like, hey, are you really okay? Like, how's things going outside of football? Because I realize, like, for our players and being in this profession, like, there's a lot of pressure with what we do, but we also have real life outside of this. Like, you got family issue. We have the same issues as everyone else. So I never lose sight of that. Like, these guys are real men. They have real issues. So I genuinely ask them how they're doing and care for them.
Yeah, everyone's got stuff, right? Everyone's got challenges. It's not just trying to make a team or be the best at their position. How have you, since last season, so now you're going into your second year as a head coach, how do you think you've changed as a leader or adjusted some of the ways that you've been running this team since when you took this job?
Yeah, I think second year around is definitely more comfortable. So it's not a lot of unknowns going into the second year. So I'm more comfortable with just, for me, I think I want to do a better job of coaching the coaches, like, and making sure I spend time encouraging the coaches and pouring into them more this time around. My first years is all about the players, getting the team right, and I probably neglected the coaching staff a little bit. So it's more of motivating, encouraging them as teachers, like how to help them best teach guys, encourage, and motivate guys.
Did you ever think when you were a player for the Texans that you would one day become the head coach? Have you ever stopped to be like, this is pretty unique?
I never thought. As playing, I'm just in my player mode and just trying to do my best. I never thought that I would be head coach of any team, but then to come back as head coach of the Houston Texans, like I wouldn't have wanted it anywhere else. Like, this just means more. It's special. It's a unique bond of the former players who were my teammates, like being able to see those guys around, seeing Andre Johnson go into the Hall of Fame, a former teammate for 6 years. It's like being the head coach of the Houston Texans. This was the perfect job for me.
You became captain when you were a player real quick. And the leadership qualities about you have followed you all the way through your playing career and now as a coach. Why do people think you're such a good leader, and why do you think you're such a good leader?
Well, I think people first think I'm a good leader because I serve first and foremost. Like, I never look at the leadership role as, I'm the big guy and everybody has to listen to what Miko says. Like, it's never like that. I'm always of the mindset of, how can I be of service to you? How can I be of service to our players, to our support staff? Like, I'm a part of it, right? And I'm a part of the team. And as a leader, I think people feel that from me, that I genuinely care and that I want the best for everyone, right? And I think people see that, and also by how I move and how I handle myself and how I carry myself, I try to do exactly what I'm asking others to do. Are you getting better every day? Right? Are you giving your best? Are you constantly thinking about how you can improve? And I do those things, so it's not just me telling someone, it's not just lip service, like I act it out as well.
You're living this.
Yes.
And in that same sentiment of not just talking it, but doing it, it's what I've been hearing a lot of your players say about CJ as a quarterback. He knows he's good. He's got that confidence, he's got that flair, he has a presence about him, but he's able to be that way because he talks about it, but he also shows it and is productive, not only on the field, but in the meeting rooms. What type of leader are you seeing in CJ here in his second year?
I'm seeing a guy who's more vocal this second time around. I think, and he's more vocal because he's more confident of his job and his role and what he has to do. He knows the offense. He can command the offense. Now I see a guy he's probably our most competitive guy on the team, whether it's shooting hoops or playing video games on the field. Like, he wants the best for everyone, and everybody feels that competitive nature come out in him. And he's leading that way. Guys see how important it is to him. Every rep is important to him, and it's important for him to see others do well. And when your quarterback is that way, it's easy to lead the team because no one wants to let him down. They know how special of a guy he is. They know how special of a talent he is. You can't help but pull for the guy. You can't help but dig a little deeper and play your hardest for him.
When you're seeing CJ get so much attention right now because he is on the map and everyone knows that he has the potential to be one of the greats to play this position, how have you been managing him as a coach and as a guide to make sure that the details aren't getting missed and all of this is distracting from what you guys are trying to get done?
Right. Now, it's a fine line of with your quarterback, right? It's reeling him in from first off, he's a football junkie. So he's looking at all these plays, other teams are running like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. It's like, okay, I love your ideas and love what you're bringing to the table. I love that you're thinking about that, but let's also not like the basics, fundamentals of the game. Like, you have to master those, and that's what the best quarterbacks in this league. So I tell them, like Brady, Manning, like they mastered the fundamentals. It wasn't always about the big play. It was about taking what the defense gave them, being in the right call, getting the offense in the right call, and making the right reads. And it was just over and over and over again. It's getting bored with the consistency of the position, right? And not getting too caught up in the wow plays, but make those simple plays that you allow your playmakers around you to turn into big plays.
Yes, and by the way, Steph wanted to make it a point that I said. He says he's not a defensive-minded head coach, but he is. At the end of the day, you're always thinking defense. So using that to your advantage, though, that you do have that defensive mind, how are you helping this offense evolve and continue to help CJ grow?
See, I told Steph in the huddle a couple of days ago, I was like, I want to see the scoreboard lighten up, like as many points as we can score. I'm not a defensive coach. I want to see the scoreboard lit up. So they all laughed about it, of course. And then I tell the refs, make sure they call it in favor of the defense. But we have fun with it. I think in our team meetings, everything we do, it's about me just coaching everybody and showing just a style of play for the Houston Texans. whether it's offense, defense, special teams, I want everybody to see there's a certain style when you put on our tape, like it has to look different, like with how we're finishing, how fast we're playing, how physical we're playing. All three phases, if we play that way and exhibit Texan football, I think everybody will see I'm the head coach of the Houston Texans and not just defense.
What's it like to be the head coach of a team that everyone's coming after now?
Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you wouldn't want it any other way, right? You want to, first off, you have always, for me, every time I lined up, every time I've coached, like I've never not lined up having high expectations for our team and what we're about, because I know the preparation that we put in, right? And I always anticipate other teams giving us their best. So, I mean, guys are up for the challenge. We understand what it is. That's every week in the league. Like, it doesn't change. I know it's a lot more noise on the outside from, fans and other people, being hyped up about the Texans. But, I mean, we're excited and we're hyped internally as well, and we have high expectations for ourselves.
So this podcast is called Scoop City, and the goal is to have people come on the show and give us all the secrets of the team. And I've gotten nothing out of you, so give me the scoop.
What's the scoop?
What's the scoop? So my last question for you about getting the scoop is, we talk about your high energy. You're a father of 4 between the ages of 10 all the way down to 6 months. The scoop, give parents some advice on how you're dealing with a high pressure job that you're in while also having to be dad at home.
Ooh. First off, I'm thankful to my wife, Jamila, for holding the house down. So when I come home, right, from all the work, the long hours, when I come home, I just know once I hit the garage, like, hey, football is done. It's dad time. And I make sure I pour into them, and they're getting all of my attention. Throw the cell phone to the side, like, they're getting all of my attention. So we're outside, we're shooting hoops, we're riding bikes. Like, I just want them to see me as dad, not the football coach, to see me as dad and know that I love them, I care for them, and I want them to know we're going to have fun, just like we have a lot of fun out here on the football field.
Coming full circle here on the energy thing. So really, all the energy is going to the guys, and then you have to almost hit a second wind here. Are you a big coffee drinker? Like, what are you doing to keep this energy up?
A little coffee in the morning, not a big coffee drink. I'll have probably a cup or 2 every day. Sometimes I may need a little espresso before I go home.
Yeah, I think
make sure the energy
I think
is right.
that is the key to late night parenting.
Yes.
Is after work, get one more shot. Most people are done with their coffee by afternoon. Sometimes you got to dig deep just to bring it in all together. So, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and thanks for hanging out in Scoop City.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.